Hey guys, and welcome back to the HeroesHype Amateur Series. We've got another match for you coming up very soon. I think they're probably in map bans now, and it'll be Edubz Fan Club versus PUNdemonium, two teams I haven't seen before. But joining me now is Anna Prosser Robinson. Hi, Anna. You are muted, Anna. Wait, it's still muted. No. It like popped on for a second and then went back off. Did it unplug?
Now?
Yeah!
Yeah, there are so many buttons that can make you not hear me, but they have all been pushed and now I am here.
Hooray.
I had to fight through the Bay Area transit apocalypse, so sorry about that being late.
No
But I'm glad to be here now.
Yeah, we had Inimical fill in for a game for you, and speaking of, guys, we didn't allow Inimical to say goodbye, so I would just say that please follow him on Twitter, and I believe Twitch as well, and Africa, where he generally streams most of the time. That's actually where we cast Storm League together, and that's Inimical GG on all of those things. Follow him, tell him thank you for casting. That was a lot of fun, that first game. And we're working on the next one soon. They are in the map vetoes. How's your day going besides the transit issues, Anna?
Oh, it's just very busy, but a lot of exciting stuff going on for Heroes, so I'm actually excited to put all of that aside and think about Heroes for a while. We had some announcements of launch events and a new hero, and we have the patch preview to talk about as well.
Yeah, we sure do. We briefly mentioned the changes coming to Diablo and ETC, but so far we've had a developer's insight that mentioned that they will be receiving new storm level talents at 20 that do some pretty crazy things. What do you think of those?
You know, I was just pulling this up as you mentioned that we were going to be talking about it. I haven't had much time to evaluate them. I have heard some complaints that people feel like with ETC and Diablo being the #1 picks for tanks, that these are not the changes they expected to see for them, that they wanted to see more that would bring other warriors back into the spotlight. So, I don't know. The thing is that I don't know if calling for nerfs on strong heroes is always the best. Like, I would always prefer to see buffs on weak heroes as opposed to nerfs on strong heroes, as long as they're not, like, obviously broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think that people do want to see more tanks in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So at least in that case, it kind of makes sense. I'm messing with your camera too, by the way. Just trying to give you a little headroom. There we go. We do see that most of the time those are the two taken, and I think that besides those level 20 talents, people are saying that we are maybe going to see some nerfs as well to them, just to bring them within range of the rest of those tanks. That's what I'm hoping for. I would love to see tanks, some other tanks back in the game, like Arthas, Stitches, and even my favorite, Tyrael. And it looks like the game will be on Cursed Hollow. I'm just going to bring you in now.
Yay, games! Cool, cool.
Yeah, we just had a game, our last game on Cursed Hollow as well.
I've come to love Cursed Hollow more these days than I used to. It feels very, it seems like one of those maps where you can not predict very easily what will happen just from knowing the draft of the teams. I feel like it's really, I mean, I hate to say like it's a really balanced map because I feel like there's balance on every map, but this one feels like kind of that very even footing battleground, which I really like.
I agree. I do want to notice that one of the team's names that we're going to be casting is PUNdemonium, which is pretty amazing.
And you know this, Gilly, we both are always up for a good pun name, so good job them. And who's their opponent?
We're going to be playing the Edubz Fan Club, and this is still a best of 1 as well. This is the round of 8 also.
Cool. Edubz Fan Club. Great guy. Lots of fans.
Yes. I'm just getting the draft now. I think this should do it, and yes, that is correct. I'm going to go ahead and swap over to the draft, and I will send you this link as well. They are using Stormcraft, so it's a little bit switchy. And there we go. So we've got the Edubz fan
Awesome.
club and PUNdemonium. Edubz has first pick, first ban, and they have decided to ban the Lost Vikings. We saw this in the last game as well. Nobody wants Lost Vikings on this map.
Yeah, and I mean, it can't be said enough, and it actually was mentioned in the patch preview that Lost Vikings are just very strong because of their ability to soak experience in 3 different places at once, which on this game, if you aren't familiar with the way experience is gained, is really important because you share experience with your entire team. So, another hero that, of course, has been very strong lately and that many have called for nerfs for is Illidan, who's going to be banned on the side of PUNdemonium, which brings our first pick over to Edubz fan club. And no surprise, a very strong damage dealer as their first pick. It will be Jaina.
It is Jaina. I can't argue with that. PUNdemonium choosing to ban that Illidan, and in the developers' insight, we actually saw that they've decided to make no changes to Illidan at this point. And I think a bunch of people were surprised with that. Were you surprised, Anna?
I feel like, and I'm not a developer or or at all close, but I like when Blizzard is courageous enough to say, we don't feel like this person needs a change. We want to wait and see what happens, because we see this in every game. There's a strategy that is leading, and then all of a sudden someone figures out a good counter to that or a good shift to the meta, and things can change. So I like that Blizzard is not so immediately reactive. I think if Illidan proves to continue to be so standout strong that people are fighting over him solely, then yeah, sure, maybe we need a nerf. But I like Blizzard being a little bit slower right now at this point to react to some of those heroes that have been around a while in terms of nerfing them. I think that, again, I mean, this is kind of repeating myself, but I'm looking more for buffs on heroes that aren't getting picked than I am for nerfs on heroes that are, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. And on top of that too, I mean, we're just now seeing teams trying to do new things to counter Illidan, and so there's been some change in that, even as recently as trying to use Muradin, like we saw in the Heroes of the Dorm. So there's still, I'm sure, a lot that we can do to counter him, and hopefully, well, we won't see it in this game, but maybe we'll see what some of these teams have been doing throughout this tournament as well. Going back to the draft, PUNdemonium have picked up Sylvanas and Vala, and Edubz fan club have countered with Uther and Diablo.
Not surprising on any of these fronts. I mean, Jaina, Vala, and Sylvanas, I would be interested to see the stats on when those 3 make up the first 3 picks, which is quite often. And Uther, of course, really strong healer right now, also has some tanky abilities, so good to have with Jaina the squishy. And Diablo, like we mentioned, one of those very strong tanks, one of the 2 that's most often picked between Diablo and ETC. So pretty standard so far from both these teams, and standard can't take you wrong on Cursed Hollow.
I totally agree. We'll probably see, I would guess we'd see Edubz try to pick up that Tyrande to go with the Diablo as well, and just build off of being able to stun people over that overpower. They've already got that with Uther a little bit, but I'm sure they would love the Tyrande as well. PUNdemonium going for the Tassadar. Having vision on this map is so nice. There's a lot of nook and crannies, and also, of course, you just want to be able to see whenever those tributes spawn around the area, see where the team is setting up, and they are down to their last 2, so we'll probably see either a full support or a tank come out here for this pick.
Yeah, and they're in an interesting position here because Edubz fan club has already picked up what we would call a full support in Uther. So they're probably not competing for their full support, and since Edubz also has Diablo, they're probably not competing for a tank. So they don't really have to strategize quite as hard in figuring out what they're going to pick now and what they're going to leave for later. But right now they're probably thinking, what do we want to have open that can be the most reactive? Because Edubz still has 2 picks. So do we want to react with our support to those picks, or do we want to react with our tank to those picks? Most likely they're going to end up with ETC as their tank, considering current meta and history. So maybe they're going to go ahead and pick that so that they can react a little more with their full support. But no, they choose to bring in Brightwing. Whether that's
time to spam the Brightwing emote!
A little squeal of glee from Gilly, as this is one of her favorite heroes. But why do you think they chose to do that before their tank, Gilly?
Well, Brightwing can teleport in. This is a big map. So having the teleport is really nice. Polymorph also very great as well. I think we're just starting to see a little bit more Brightwing. People are starting to figure her out a bit more, and they were really scared once Rewind was moved to 20. They were like, Brightwing is no longer viable. But man, she has some great healing numbers. She's not super fast, but she can teleport anywhere, and with Blink Heal as well, she can teleport to her teammates if she gets in a little bit out of position. And I'm not certain what, maybe there's also thinking that Edubz is going to be going for something specific here with their damage dealers, and Edubz got a little bit of wiggle room here. Like I said, they probably would pick up the Toronto, but they don't have to. They do have Uther already to stun off of Diablo, so they could go 2 more damage dealers here and really throw PUNdemonium for a loop because they have to pick a tank. Probably. I mean, I guess they wouldn't have to, but Edubz, they would probably want to, and Edubz is going to grab Falstad and Zeratul, so they did go for the double damage here.
Interesting pairing, because you were mentioning the mobility of Brightwing. We can see a lot of mobility from Falstad as well, and then Zeratul has his own kind of mobility because he can cloak. So he can be somewhere, and the opposing team might not know that he's there if they're not looking hard enough. A lot of backdoor capabilities and vision capabilities that way. So perhaps going to help them with their lack of vision that Tassadar is going to be providing for PUNdemonium. So now, again, PUNdemonium is probably looking to pick up a tank. There are a few things they could do besides ETC, though. We've seen some Tyrael play, we've seen some Muradin play, we see Sonya fairly rarely, we haven't seen a lot of Stitches, and there it is going to be the ETC. So they did go ahead and choose the ETC mobility again. He can use Stage Dive to be anywhere on the map. He also has a very powerful stun if he wants to use that instead with Mosh Pit. So, pretty solid team comps with not a whole lot that's unexpected, but a lot of character. You know, things that are not completely standard. So we're going to get to see our friend Brightwing. We're going to get to see our friend Falstad. I'm interested also to see whether we're going to see... Is it the Void Prison Hinterland Blast that's the Crispy Taco? Is that what we call the Crispy Taco?
The Crispy Taco is...
No, that's Tyrael.
Yeah, Hinterland Blast plus Judgment from Tyrael. But we do have the possibility for Void Prison APOC, and then from there, the taco part of the Crispy Taco, which is, of course, the Hinterland Blast. And, I mean, even if they really wanted to go crazy, they could even throw in a Divine Storm in there somewhere, and they've got themselves one heck of a wombo. So I'm ready to see if they can hit it. Brightwing could throw a huge wrench into that, though. If she picked up Emerald Wind, that could be one way, or of course if she just was able to polymorph whoever was trying to come into, but that's difficult if she's void prisoned, and usually the one to start that will be the Zeratul, but it requires you to hit all of those things too, and a lot of team synergy.
Yeah, very interesting that, I mean, the thing is, we talk about these wombos as if they're done deals, but especially the Void Prison APOC or the Void Prison Hinterland Blast are not easy to coordinate. You have to be so communicative as a team and then be just at the ready and in the right place at the right time. So it'll be interesting to see whether those do hit, whether they attempt to use them that way. Do you think we're going to see any big wombo synergy from PUNdemonium aside? I know you mentioned Emerald Wind, but that's kind of a more, I don't know, defensive type of thing.
Yeah, you could sometimes like wind and push someone into your team, but I think that it's not going to be more wombo-y so much as very sustaining, making sure that they always have the correct positioning where they want as well. I think the side of the wombo will be on Edubz's side, and you mentioned how difficult it can be to line up those heroics, and Hinterland Blast is one of the hardest ones. I think we saw that in Heroes of the Dorm, right? Trying to line up Hinterland Blast with that Void Prison is pretty tough. So we'll have to see if they can do it. Let's go ahead and introduce these teams. For PUNdemonium, we have Sol on Tassadar, Chiana playing Vala, Ryushi on that dancing Sylvanas, Mirando on the Monkey, Brightwing, and Savage playing ETC.
And in red, we have Edubz Fan Club. Schooled will be playing Jaina. Radlak will be on Uther. Talls on Diablo. Lyricals will play Zeratul. And Apollo will be on Falstad. I feel like I think I saw Apollo in Heroes of the Dorm as well.
Oh, yeah?
I'm trying to remember who Apollo played for, but I feel like I did.
They're in a very interesting spot to start, and already I kind of see them trying to make something happen here. But so far, it also looked like something was maybe going to happen for PUNdemonium top, so maybe passing ships in the night in terms of getting ganks. Both teams just going to head to their lanes now, and already I see Tassadar picking up Overload, so increasing Psionic Storm's range. Generally, we see Conjurers or the talent that gives you mana off of your Psionic Storm, so deviating a little bit from the plan, but that could just be personal preference there.
Yeah, it could be, and it's interesting to think about what PUNdemonium must be planning, because and Savage is overpowered and thrown into the middle of 3 other members of Edubz fan club and will go down. That's going to be first kill for Edubz.
Yeah, that was a very quick gank. We're seeing the power now of those rotations. Lyrical's coming in, but sorry, Tassadar is much more difficult to be able to pick up, and he will get away.
Yeah, and another overpower. I don't think that will bring Tassadar down, but certainly does not feel good. But I was going to mention, I think PUNdemonium must be trying to figure out what their team does in this game, because they have Sylvanas, who is a notable pusher. She can push very, very well with her mini curse, as you've called it. Mm-hmm. But, you know, the rest of the team may be looking at their opponents and being like, okay, that's a team fight comp. They can do a lot of damage to us. Do we need to alter what we're planning on doing here? Do we have enough to be a push-centric comp? And they're going to be in a team fight here down at the bottom. A little skirmish that has Mirando body blocked, and Mirando will go down. Ryushi has to run for their life.
Yeah, was able to Banshee away, but that kind of meant that Brightwing was the next target of aggression and did go down to Edubz, who is rapidly approaching level 4. That's when the next talent tier will take place, and they may be up a talent as we go to the tribute. Probably not, but it's possible.
Yeah, teams both soaking experience fairly evenly, but like you said, there's a little bit of an advantage on the side of Edubz, and that, of course, is because they've gotten 2 kills already, while their opponents haven't managed to get any. The tribute will spawn down here in the bottom. There are 2 members of PUNdemonium already here with Apollo from Edubz fan club, but certainly everyone is not too far away, and we see most people, except for it looks like Radlock, making the trek down to the tribute.
Yep, here we go. Team members are a little bit late now. Uther is all the way up at the top of the map. There's more people here definitely for PUNdemonium, but they've got to be careful, man, because this composition is scary. And there goes the overpower onto the Brightwing, who's taking a ton of damage from Falstad. Will be able to get out thanks to a great protective shield by her. And now Apollo's the one getting low, but so is Tassadar. That's Soul and Chiana playing Vala as well. And both teams just trying to grab it where they grab the tribute as they can, forcing the other team to engage back in, and maybe they can grab somebody out of position. That's typically what you try to do, is you just try to force the other team to come back in when you're there. Tails is going in, trying to overpower Vala specifically, who will go down to a ton of damage from Apollo and Jaina too, and they are going to back up a little bit. It's still, remember, respawn timers for this first tribute are very, very low. Vala is already back up, but she does have to come back up here, so nobody's picked up this tribute just yet.
Yeah, and it looked like Edubz actually had room enough to fall back and maybe try to tap well, or at least get some space. They will engage now. Savage looking to try and get some action going. Talls, though, looks like Tassadar will go down, and overpowering Savage also, who's going to get body blocked and also will likely go down as it's surrounded by Edubz fan club. Very low on the side of Edubz, but nobody dead yet. So Mirando, Chiana, and Ryushi must be very tempted to continue this fight, but at this point, they are 3-5.
Ooh, clutch heal from Uther saves Falstad from the scary Envenom that had his life ticking away. And now, because of those timers, those respawn timers like we mentioned, there is going to be the first tribute for PUNdemonium, although they did lose a lot of people for it.
Yeah, it looks like Edubz looked at that and said, you know what, this is not worth risking a death over, so we're going to back off. You can have that first tribute. It's not going to affect us right now because it takes 3 tributes to make a curse, and I think that's a smart move on their part. Although they had the advantage in numbers, it's certainly not worth trading a kill at this point in the game when they already are up 5 kills to 0, which is a great advantage.
Yeah, all those kills pushed them into the level 7 talents, and now PUNdemonium has to try like crazy to catch back up to that talent tier before the next tribute phase. And so they were completely happy with that. That was the best move, to step back there. They knew that everyone would be fresh from PUNdemonium coming back up. They knew respawn timers made it difficult. They won the engagement there and were happy to step back. And they've got a talent tier to prove on it, although PUNdemonium is about to hit 7.
I think that this shows a real consciousness of what their team comp is meant to do on the part of Edubz, because they know that their team comp is meant to kill people. It's not necessarily catered toward objectives or pushing, it's definitely catered toward making sure that people die. Almost taking that out on Mirando there as Brightwing narrowly gets behind the wall. Apollo, Skold, and Talz are keeping control of this bottom lane as the tribute spawns near the top.
Yeah, poor Ryushi hasn't been able to get too much pushing done. They do almost have one tower down for Edubz, but you would definitely like to have more since you have that Sylvanas. Here comes a tribute. It's definitely, the positioning definitely favors Edubz here. Although Skold having a bit of trouble getting in here, the team is separated a bit, but now Savage is getting caught in a lot of damage there from Jaina and will go down. Falstad's still not here, just now arriving just in time for them to pick up this tribute, which will go to Edubz fan club, who is actually 2 levels ahead.
Yeah, and Edubz right there obviously definitely had the better positioning, and PUNdemonium made a good choice not to try to engage there as they didn't have the numbers or the position for it. Chiana and Ryushi getting chased behind their wall. Now 4 members of Edubz fan club will be in the mid lane. Apollo gonna head down toward the bottom. They're doing a great job of remembering also to stay soaking in lanes. Schooled up here in the top, taking on Soul.
So, Jaina did go for Deep Chill at level 1 talent. That's going to, a lot of times we see Lingering Chill, which just increases the length of time that chills on, but going for an increase of slowing, the slow that happens from the chill. So really building on top of that, overpower, stunning from Uther, and then there'll be slow on top of that. And here are the heroics for Edubz fan club. They're trying to once again get Brightwing, and a great shadow charge from Diablo will ensure that they've picked up the support. We should have a tribute spawning very soon, and it'll definitely be one that PUNdemonium will not want to get into. Do you want to tell about the heroics? I just completely skipped that.
No worries. Sure. We are at level 10, so we have heroics from Edubz fan club. Jaina has gone with Summon Water Elemental. We see Divine Shield from Uther, Apocalypse, as we mentioned, from Diablo, Void Prison, of course, from Zeratul, and Hinterland Blast from Falstad. So, as we expected, a lot of Wombos in our future, Gilly.
Oh yes, I love the Wombos. Not quite Divine Storm, but I understand most people like the Shield lately. Edubz being very cautious here are going to come in for this tribute. Now, PUNdemonium are level 10, but they knew that they didn't really have the positioning here to try to engage in. They just picked up their heroics. So they just played it safe. They knew that they had one more sort of buffer tribute, if you will, before they were going to lose it. And heroics for PUNdemonium. Oh, do we have an engagement on bot? Okay. Heroics are going to be Archon Stage Dive, Rain of Vengeance, Wailing Arrow, and Blink Heal, which just saved Mirando. Oh my goodness, the plays! Blink Heal to Ryushi, who quickly Wailing Arrowed down on that Falstad so that he couldn't Hinterland Blast Brightwing, because that would have killed the Brightwing now. That was a great play.
Yeah, good pick. Instead of the Emerald Wind, which we may have expected, Mirando going for the Blink Heal, which I think is probably a good choice at this point in the game, as needing to save Brightwing's teammates is something she's really going to want to look to do.
Yeah, it provides extra healing. It gets her out of a bind, which is they're obviously focusing her, so that's a very good choice there too.
Yeah.
Here comes the next tribute. This is one that PUNdemonium desperately want to avoid, because if they lose it, Edubz is going to get a curse, but they also want to be careful because losing the tribute and losing a bunch of lives will be very difficult to try to defend it.
Oh my gosh, Edubz fan club coming in at such a perfect engagement. They had 2 on either side and 1 on the bottom of this tribute, and they're just going to melt their opponents. Oh my gosh, that was carnage, and they will pick up the 3rd tribute, which will result in a curse on behalf of Edubz fan club. Now PUNdemonium has to be pretty worried, Gilly.
Yeah, Void Prison into APOC, perfectly timed with the Hinterland Blast on top. They've timed this. They knew what to do, and Chiana coming in will probably pay for it for her life, and there she does go down as Jaina and Zeratul can do a ton of damage very quickly, and they will pick up that boss. They still have 45 seconds left on their curse. Minions are pushing at every single lane.
Looks like they're going to look to try and take this mid lane as opposed to pushing in the bottom. That confuses their opponents just briefly. They are going to have Ryushi, Soul, and Mirando on them, but not for long, because they don't want to deal with that damage. All 5 members of Edubz fan club now here. Lyrical's doing a great job of being very sneaky and being in just the position that PUNdemonium does not want him to be in.
Wow, Jaina picked up Icy Veins for level 13 talent, and I completely understand. There you can often get improved Ice Block or Sprint, but, oh, are they going to get another Miranda? Poor Brightwing, desperately trying to save alive, but oh, that's the Water Elemental on her. Will it catch her? They're trying to kill it. They're trying to take it down in time. Miranda dodges the Frostbolt and will survive. Goodness, but they're losing a keep here, and that spells a lot of trouble.
A well-executed curse on behalf of Edubz fan club. Certainly, I mean, the thing is that there weren't a whole lot of bad decisions they could make there. They were in a really good position, being multiple levels ahead, having time to take a boss, and then also still having time on their curse. So definitely something that PUNdemonium could not avoid. They did their best to defend and actually didn't feed too many things to their opponents. But we have 12 kills on behalf of Edubz fan club, and so far PUNdemonium has made 0 kills.
Yeah, 0 deaths. This happened last game too, and those really just tell the tale. That between the loss of all the structures, we see level 13 talents just now being picked up by PUNdemonium, but level 16 talents have already been grabbed by Edubz. That is a huge gap to try to overcome.
They're going to fall back and grab their boss now, so the pushing will be relentless. They're taking as many advantages as they can, and we're already behind in levels. You do not want to have this much map control also on the side of your opponent. PUNdemonium doing a great job, though, of making sure to take the camps that are on their side of the map, not letting those fall into the wrong hands, and also using them kind of defensively, making sure that they have power in their lanes, pushing back on the objectives that Edubz has already taken.
Yes, for sure. We do see, of course, also that Zeratul and Falstad have gathering power, and with 0 deaths on their side, that means they have all of those stacks that have yet to be lost, and that just means extra damage for them as well. Very difficult to try to engage into for PUNdemonium, who are slowly inching their way back experience-wise, but there's a great Void Prison. Here comes the A-Plot.
Oh,
catches it.
Blast.
Right wing ETC go down so fast, the Hinterland Blast. Tassadar will follow in Archon form and all, and I said A-Plock because I got so excited.
It's the A-Plocterland Blast Prison.
Yeah.
It's lethal, as we saw. Now it looks like the core is exposed, but Edubz fan club making the choice to back off. They know they have plenty of time, or maybe not. Zeratul and Jaina going for a little bit of a bait, or at least, nope, just joining the boss, as the boss does tons of damage here in the top lane. They weren't ready to go for core, but they decided they did have a little bit of damage left in them. Ryushi will go down as well. Chiana, Savage, and Soul, as well as Mirando, now coming back into the fight, looking to defend the core. But Edubz fan club, are they going to give them the chance?
I don't know. It's still a 4-level difference. They still have a talent tier advantage on their opponents, but they are going to move away. Falstad flying up. There's that global map presence we talked about. Easily can take out these giants who don't even get to take out a single turret. Poor PUNdemonium. They would love to be able to get some experience here from some downed structures, but aren't going to be able to do so.
Yeah, at this point, if you're PUNdemonium, you're looking at this and you're saying, you know what? There is unrestricted access to our core. We have major structures left in our opponent's side of the map. We have to get a good engagement here or the game is over. So they're really looking to make sure their synergy is on point in this next engagement. But I don't know if they're going to take it right here at the Tribute, because they know that that might be the best place to look for it.
Yeah, that level lead is huge, and they know it. They don't have to get this Tribute. It doesn't mean a curse, and even a curse, like, I mean, it will help minions push towards your core, but it doesn't make your core stop attacking at the very least. But here comes ETC's trying to get away. He knows that the team is after him and will power slide away, but Taos is jumping in. He's going to maybe overpower him. He's trying to just body block him for now, and he will stage dive, but only stage dives a little bit away and will take a lot of damage from Jaina because of it. And that means that Edubz maybe wants to push in toward this keep. No, they're just going to continue to play safe. They know they've got the advantage. They know they don't need to make risky plays, and they're not going to.
PUNdemonium definitely looking at their levels and saying, okay, we've got to reach level 16 and then get an engagement before our opponent's Edubz fan club reach 20, because that is exactly when we do not want to engage. So at this point, they're looking to grab these minions. They're going to all the lanes, soaking up as much experience as they can, because once they hit 16, they will very briefly be on the same talent tier as their opponents.
Oh man, but this keep is going to give inch Edubz just ever so slightly toward 20 once again. They are not there yet, and PUNdemonium's almost there. There, they've got it. They've picked up 16. They know this is it if they're going to, and they're going in. Oh, but so is Diablo. Schooled immediately gets Divine Shielded. There's the Void Prison, and Apox is following it, catches several people, but the Hinterland Blast doesn't quite take people down the way they wanted. Schooled is very, very low. Apollo is in there trying to kill, but not quite able to do so. And they're going to have to watch out. Nobody has died on either team yet. And for now, Edubz is going to have to get it off. PUNdemonium finally being able to push them away.
Edubz fan club making the good decision here to back off because they don't have to win this fight. But PUNdemonium does need to win this fight. And if they run away, they don't give PUNdemonium a chance to even have this fight. So looking to maybe grab the boss on their way out, deciding not to, but PUNdemonium wants them to die. They're going to try to take down Apollo, who gets out of the way just in time. We see a very healthy team on behalf of PUNdemonium, but the tribute does go to Edubz fan club. So now PUNdemonium is cursed.
This is going to be tough because what they would like to do is they would like to guard this golem. They don't want Edubz to pick up this boss. It's going to have direct access to their core, but they also, you know what else has direct access to their core? A bunch of Winions. So many Winions. They got to sit here and defend them because the minions that spawn on their side are only going to have 1 hit point. And now there's level 20. Edubz has it. Falstad's flying back and he's healed up. They're after this golem. Savage wants to stop it. They're coming back in quickly. The golem is still at halfway. There goes the stage dive from Savage, but he stage dives right into the stun from the golem, and he's so low he's going to go down. He's the first one to die there. Towels is just throwing people around from PUNdemonium, but he will also get pretty low. Doing a great job defending considering they don't have their level 20 talents yet, but there's a Void Prison. There it is. And there, oh no! Oh, Hinterland Blast and Apocalypse just decimates the entire team. They're going to go after this golem. But I think the rest of the team's just saying, no guys, no, we can just win the game.
That was so brutal. I mean, Mirando as Brightwing was already really low, so we knew they were going down, but the perfect landing of the Void Prism into Apocalypse, into Hinterland Blast, and then everybody's gone. There's just no coming back from that. And unfortunately, that very small window that PUNdemonium had in order to negotiate a comeback does close, and Edubz fan club will take the game and move on in the HeroesHype Amateur Series.
Whew, what a game. There was a brief team fight comeback, but even then, man, it would have been so difficult for PUNdemonium to come back. They still had every 4-up on the side of Edubz even. It was just so brutal once they picked up that first curse from there, and especially that first time that we saw the execution of the Void Prison, APOC, Hinterland Blast. Besides the fact that we saw that like 20 more times and it was executed flawlessly, like basically every time except when they were on the core. That first one really just propelled them into the lead.
Yeah, I think looking at this, it really seems like the game, I mean, looking at the kills, for example, 21 kills on behalf of Edubz fan club, 0 on behalf of PUNdemonium. So when we look at that, we have to say, like, yes, mistakes were made, but something was won here in the draft. So when we're looking at the synergy of the teams, we knew already that this very powerful wombo was coming out from Edubz fan club. So we have to ask ourselves, what could PUNdemonium have drafted in order to have a team that was maybe a little more competitive with this? Is it something that may have done better at interrupting those heroic abilities? Is it something that may have focused on pushing instead of on team fighting? But maybe there was nothing they could do by the time, you know, first and second draft have been picked. You know, are you out of luck there? So do you have any suggestions for them for the next game, Gilly?
Well, remember that it went Jaina and then Uther Diablo through that draft, and so then they were able to kind of surprise their opponents, I think, with the Zeratul and Falstad, whereas by that point, I mean, I think that there was only an ETC left that they had to pick because they had to have a tank, and so maybe having tankier heroes. We saw a double tank last game, but then, of course, you start sacrificing a little bit in terms of damage, too, so I don't know. That's a tough thing to deal with when you've got those wombos like that, but especially when you've got a team who can execute them so well as well.
Yeah, I can only think that maybe, I mean, and like you said, the order of the draft makes it difficult because hindsight is 2020, of course. But maybe if
sure.
we had seen something like a Rhaegar that has a little bit more escapability as opposed to a Brightwing who got picked off quite a lot in the early game, maybe that would have been a more solid pick. And that goes to what you were saying, tankier heroes might have helped here. But certainly just a really cool draft and an awesome strategy from Edubz Fan Club. I'm excited to see them continue on.
Yes, I am as well, guys. We are going to take a short break. We already know that the next match is going to be Wild Growth versus See Hero, Kill Hero, a new team here, but I believe has LZ Gamer on it.
Ooh.
So that'll be really fun. And, oh, I'm already getting invited to the lobby. We're just going to take a very, very short break, guys. Just 1 minute. We'll be right back in. See you soon.